Watch Who?
Hello. And welcome to Watch Who, a Doctor Who podcast. I'm Mark.
I'm Sarah.
And I'm a Doctor Who fan.
And I'm new to watching Who.
Watching for the very first time.
Very first time.
Oh, Sarah, thanks for coming down the youth club with me.
Sorry. I literally, as you started that, I went, ugh. Sorry. Yeah, you're welcome, Mark.
Yeah, it's cool down here, isn't it? We could sort of, doss about.
There's no coffee shop.
No. Should we see what's going on?
Sure.
Is there anyone here? Oh, no, it looks... Oh, there's somebody over there. It's Dylan.
Oh, have you come for your self-defense classes? I've come here to teach you how to be a real man. Or woman.
Oh, no, we're here for the Doctor Who club.
There's no Doctor Who club.
There is no Doctor Who club here, my friend.
Strictly fighting and repressed homosexuality.
We could set up a Doctor Who club. I mean, is there any gymnastics? I hear there's a great instructor called Sophie. No?
Not for you, Mark. Not for you.
Anyway, let's start a Doctor Who club here.
I'm in.
Sure. I mean, I'll open a coffee shop.
Okay.
I hear there was one here before.
Well, we might as well talk about survival while we're here then as well. Okay.
This is not your best intro, Mark.
I thought it was quite good.
I'm just happy to be involved.
Send us to some Catland or something.
Oh, no, I did think about Catland, but I was like, no, the youth club. There's plenty going on here. Anyway, welcome, Dylan.
Plenty going on here. Is this where the Doskers is going to be at the youth club?
Of course it is. Well, Gabriel Chase had burnt down the house from Ghostlight. No one wants to go to where Fenric was, so that's really it. It's either that or the garden centre from Battlefield.
Anyway,
God.
Welcome, Dylan.
Thank you for having me. I'm very happy to be here on this final episode of season 26.
Yeah, it's a big moment, isn't it?
It is a huge one in the history of Doctor Who and my own life.
Well, just before we start, can I ask you about your podcast?
You can ask me about my podcast. I do a podcast called Doctor Who Too Hot for TV, in which we cover anything that is not on the television. Books, audios, video spin-offs, comics, games, figures, anything. It's me and a guest host every couple of weeks, and we just talk about all that tat. And don't worry if you don't know anything about it, because we do a full plot synopsis, so most people just come along so they don't have to consume all that rubbish anyway, and we do it on their behalf. And you've been on there along as with many other people.
I was going to say, it's pretty much all the stuff that sort of Sarah probably wouldn't be interested in terms of the spin-off stuff.
I'm not really selling it, am I?
No, it's great. It's all the stuff.
If it means I don't have to watch it or listen to it, then yeah, I would be interested. So if it saves me a job, I'm all for it.
It's all the stuff I love. It's great. All of those things. Sarah, you interested? The book that Dodo gets shot in and stuff? You love that?
I mean, I want to love that. We've talked about it.
But also, I was going to say, recently as well, you've sort of gone off into other realms other than Doctor Who.
Other TV shows, other franchises. We've just done a Terminator one. We did a Blake 7 one. We did a Red Dwarf one. War of the Worlds.
Yes.
War of the musical version.
Yes. I love that version. I love that episode because we were allowed to listen to that in primary school in the classroom.
Amazing.
While we did our work. It was like...
What, every day?
Listen to More of the Worlds.
Yeah, there was just a few. It was like, we really love War of the Worlds. Can we listen to it? And our teacher was like, yeah, that's fine. Like half the class were like, what's going on? So I love listening to that episode. And
was Ross there?
Yeah, Ross loved it. Ross wanted it.
Yes. Good old Ross.
I still want to meet Ross. I feel like one day we will get Ross on our podcast.
When we find him, I don't know where he is.
I'm starting a new podcast called Searching for Ross. It's going to be... It's a spin-off of this.
Where's Ross? Where is Ross?
Where is Ross? I don't know. I'll find him one day. He'd probably be like, who are you?
Just immediately blocks you when you're like, so I talk about you quite a lot on a podcast. He's like, that's weird, mate. That's really weird.
I know.
Complete block.
Well, I still need to, maybe I should message Tom because I am friends with him on Facebook.
Have you still not done that?
But he can't listen to this because that's the one I talked about in Time in Irani when he was like wanking. So I can't.
He's not going to listen to it unless it turns out you're still a fan.
Find like a nicer one.
Yeah, I know, but anyway. Well, we are here to talk about survival today.
Yeah.
Actually, before we start, I know I've just got a couple of things as well. Loads of people have got in touch saying that the Destroyer from Battlefield is amazing, and were very shocked that, Sarah, you were not impressed.
Yeah, you were wrong, unfortunately.
I'm trying to remember. Hang on.
Yeah, the big, he was like blue, like the blue demon guy.
Big? I'm going to have to just look it
Anyway,
up. Destroyer.
Everybody is
Battle.
shocked that you didn't like the Destroyer.
He even dribbles.
Oh, and also we heard from Lucas, our Doskers administrator, I'll call him. He had a couple of points when he was really listening back. So I can't remember what we said in the Doskers, but he was getting back to us that Lady Painful did kill someone, the mathematician in her study. So maybe we're talking about that she didn't kill anyone. And Desert Julie did have an effect on the plot, apparently, because her cart blocked the road as the clowns were chasing Ace, allowing Ace to get away. So I think we said she was a bit pointless, but she was there.
Oh, yeah. I said if you removed her, the story would continue.
Yeah.
Desert Julie. I remember Desert Julie. I had to look up that blue thing now.
There we go.
Yet, but I've looked again. It looks pretty good. The picture looks all right. I'll give you that.
We'll compare it to the guys we got this time.
No.
Okay. Because, before we start, I need to ask. So, Dylan, is this one of your favourite stories?
This is my favourite classic series Doctor Who story. Do you know what the second?
Really?
Do you know what the second one is?
Go on.
Keys of Marinus.
Yay!
Just to be on brand. Now, I can't say that it's because I think it's the greatest Doctor Who story of all time, although there's many pluses to it. But it's because this is something I remember from my childhood. My first season of Doctor Who was this season of Doctor Who, and I've just got such nostalgic memories about it. It's like there's certain things like The Terminator as a kid that I cannot possibly be uber critical about because they just remind me of like happier times.
That's why when you watch these sorts of things, I mean, it's different for me watching them compared to like other fans watching them. I can't replicate that for love of money. But I also feel that's why I have such fond memories of Keys of Marinus. I think it was like one of the first ones that I really enjoyed.
You were like, thank
and that's
God.
why it stood with me through thick or thin.
Amazing.
Well, this one, I don't have particular memories of this. I didn't have the video. So the first time I watched this might have been when it came out on DVD. So it was one of like the later ones that I watched. So I don't have that particular connection with this particular story. I have enjoyed it, but it's not one of my favourites. So this will be interesting to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, it's as you say, it's when you come at it, like, I can completely understand why people would see this as a bit of 30-year-old hokey television. Weirdly, last year, whenever I was scrolling through Twitter late at night, I was like, oh, it's my Doctor Who anniversary. Battlefield episode 1 is my first episode. And my girlfriend Daisy was like, go on, put it on, let's watch it. And I've never seen someone's enjoyment of an evening disappear so quickly. Because to her, it's just a bit of old television that looks like dog shit. Sorry, the Destroyer.
Do you know what? Do you know what?
Maybe cat shit would be more appropriate for this one.
Yes.
So Seventh Doctor and Ace, Dylan, this is like your team. This is your...
Yeah, I love them. There's something about them. Again, it's that association of childhood, and also that, you know, they wander off at the end of this episode, and it's like they wander off to have adventures forever, which obviously we know in spin-off media they do. But in my mind, there's other series of those two out there, you know, with cities made of song and cups of tea getting cold. So I cannot be that critical about them for all their flaws as very stylized 80s actors.
I mean, that's how I feel about The Sound of Music. So, like, you know, I used to watch that a lot. That was my, like, Doctor Who, was The Sound of Music. My mum, I got it stuck in the video player. That, or I think my mum might have actually, like, just got rid of the video player with it stuck in because she was like, I'm sick of watching this. But
fair.
Yeah, get it.
Well, should we start going through the story? I've got lots of notes here. So I've watched this fresh today. I broke it up in 3 installments throughout the day today. So
episodes, you might call them.
Episodes, yes. I don't know. I've never said installments before, ever. So we're in Perivale, Ace's hometown. Yeah, by her request. Okay, let's just talk about the black cat that we see first off.
I did laugh. I had a really good laugh at that.
I knew it.
As soon as I saw that black cat, and it was like, I had a good giggle to myself.
I know that cat's terrible, but what also gets me is how they can't even do fake dead cats later in the story. There's 2 of them, and it's like, come on, you must be like, I understand like limited effects and stuff like that for a moving cat, but yeah, just the dead cats you can't even get right. There are literally stuffed dead cats that you can buy in shops. Also, the black cat, I saw it at a convention once. Mike Tucker, the VFX guy, brought it along to a convention and squeezed it and went, Meh. It was great.
Oh my!
Didn't get its autograph.
Oh no!
But like, they have real cats in it as well. So I don't understand why they didn't just have a shot of a real cat at the start, because all it does is stare, and then the rest of it's a sound effect.
Yeah, it's probably difficult to train cats though.
I think it still is, right? And I think this was supposed to be a slightly more evil-looking cat, and also a backup cat for when the cats weren't playing ball.
Right.
Yeah.
Mark, is this where we bring up where you tried to train your cat to use the toilet?
We could straight away. Let's just talk about cats using this toilet if we've all had experience of this.
When I got my cat, Mark was like, "Are you going to train it to use the toilet?" And I was like, "No, I'm not."
So it was like a plastic thing that went over like the toilet, and it had a hole in the middle, and you're supposed to put your cat on it, and it's supposed to use it, and then you take away like sections bit by bit,
right? And
then eventually you don't need like the plastic thing over the toilet, and the cat knows to sort of perch on the toilet.
See, I knew someone that did that, and it was they just put the cat litter tray on the toilet, and then you go to the toilet in the middle of the night, and you'd be like, "Oh no, there's a cat litter tray there," and all like there'd be cat piss on the floor, and the cat just never got up there, and it would just turned the little toilet room just into the whole thing was the cat's toilet, except the actual toilet, so it was just everywhere. It was not a pleasant experience.
My cat was so close to death when I got her anyway. The last thing I could be bothered to do was, I was so surprised she was alive. Never mind trying to train her to use the toilet. I was happy she was using anything. So, but mine's a simple cat. But Mark's cat was not successful in toilet training.
No.
And I couldn't be bothered to train mine to use the toilet.
No, I mean, if you can't train them to use the toilet, you can't train them to be in survival. It's like,
Well, you say that. My cat does not scratch the curtains. I trained her not to do that. She does not touch. She touched them once when she was a kitten, and I went so nuts. She's never touched them since. So I feel like I trained her that. Everything else she scratches, the carpet, but the curtains. That's a success.
I've just thought, was the working title for this story something about a litter tray or a cat tray?
It was called Cat Flap, not litter tray.
That's it, Cat Flap. I was thinking something like that. It could have been called cat litter or something.
Cat shit.
Yeah, cat flap. So the cat thing, we see this black cat, and there's like sort of cats in the background when the Doctor and Ace are walking around. What I was trying to understand this time round is what makes the Doctor suspicious all of a sudden? Because, it's just a cat walking around, he's sort of looking around. What is the point where he's like, there's something weird going on here? Because then very suddenly he knows there's a planet, he knows that Ace is going to be taken or whatever. Like, all he does is pick up that cat tin and sniff it, and that seems to be the first suspicion of there's something going on.
Maybe alien cats smell different. They certainly look different, as we've established. So.
Yeah, he's noticed something that we haven't, because then that's just the whole of the first
maybe it's also mixed with, like, what she's saying about her friends as well, though. Like, it's got to be mixed with, like, people are missing, and then this cat's behaviour is odd.
Yeah, but it's not odd, though. It's just a cat. Well, I suppose it is odd. If it's got, like, weird eyes and stuff, maybe. But I don't know. I was just trying to understand that. I've never really been sort of grabbed by this first episode. I think that maybe that's why. I never really understood it. I do like the smell of cat food, though. That was weird. That's a weird thing. I'm just going to tell everyone. No. I think it's quite nice.
Get out.
Wet or dry, Mark?
Both. I don't mind.
I mean, neither was a great answer. I was just intrigued which one.
Well, the Doctor gives this can a bit of a sniff, and that sets off his alarm system. And we see these eyes watching people. So, Sarah, were you suspicious that it might have been the Master at this point, or was it a surprise?
Not the first time. I think the second or third time. Yes, not the first one. The first one, it was quite obvious. As the second time, I started getting like more of the face. And then once you get the shape of the face, I was like, that's the Master.
I was going to say, because you've just had glowing eyes in The Curse of Fenric. So when I was a kid, I didn't know who the Master was. So I was just like, oh, maybe it's the guy from the previous story.
Ah, yeah.
Mm.
I was surprised to see the Master, but not surprised, if that makes sense. Like, I think, did I say last week? Like, I thought we might have, like, it's been a while since we've had the Master. So,
but you love, love the Master.
And I love the Master. But this wasn't one of my favourite Master appearances. For me, it didn't add anything. It could have been anyone.
Yeah, he doesn't actually do a lot, but I'm always constantly surprised. We're not surprised that you like the Master, but you like this Master.
I wasn't that fussed on this appearance of it. I just, normally when the Master comes, it's proper mayhem. This time he just felt stuck and he got out, and I couldn't work out what mayhem he was trying to create.
Yeah, no, he was just trying to escape. That's why it's called survival. Like he was in a desperate situation and needed the Doctor to figure out how to get off there. But it's funny you say you weren't that into him, because this is generally considered his best performance.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, it's his most subtle performance.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it is. It's just he hasn't got much to do.
Maybe that's why I don't find it, because I quite like when the Master's so over the top. That he comes in and he's sort of this known, I'm sorry, but there's sort of like a big dramatic flair that never really works out to the Master. He always gets away. Like, I quite like all that about it.
I just think in this one his girdle's too tight, so he's having real trouble sort of like over pronunciating or anything. He always seems to be like, oh, gasping for breath like that. And I think he's probably put on a few pounds and he's wrapped something around to make himself look skinny for telly.
He just looks like he's just really hot. Like, everyone is just really hot and tired.
Well, they all do. I mean, we'll get to Catland, but like, there's a lot of like very hot people in Catland, and I don't mean sexy.
But there are some sexy people there as well.
I mean, maybe for the 80s.
But it's nice to see this sort of contemporary setting and Ace's home. And it's more Ace stuff. We've had a lot of Ace this season.
Yeah, I mean, like I said previously, like I've enjoyed this sort of new direction the stories are going, and like giving the companions more of a fuller backstory rather than just, hey, you're the companion, you're just here with the Doctor. It sort of has really broadened them out, made them people, and I've enjoyed that.
And we go down to the youth club.
Here we are now.
Did we go to youth clubs? Have we been to youth clubs?
Yeah, I went to youth clubs. There were actually quite a lot like that. Not with that weird wall that they've got in, that's an outside wall inside. You know, where you can see through like, the concrete things? It's like, that shouldn't be inside. The 80s were wild.
I don't think I did. I went to, maybe I've mentioned this before, my neighbour took me, it was like bring your neighbour to youth club day. She took me, but it was called the J Club.
The J Club?
Was it Jesus Club?
I didn't know that meant Jesus, did I? And we made scones, and that's all I remember, actually. That was my only youth club experience. I went to the Y for one night as well, which is the YMCA under 16s night, or whatever it was. That had like a TV in the corner playing EastEnders and like a mosh pit like upstairs with like bands playing and stuff.
Wow, what sort of bands?
I don't know, just like local, I don't know, people were just like, it was like a dangerous mosh pit. It was like, I'm not going anywhere near it.
Were you in the EastEnders?
I was here watching EastEnders.
Oh, Mark was 100% watching EastEnders thinking, why is the neighbours up? We had one. We didn't have one in my village. They're still trying to get one in my village. I know that. I used to go to my church one sometimes. But I did singing and stuff, so I was quite a busy bee. If I was free, I'd go.
Can I just add in, sorry, I think there's going to be loads of different stories in this episode, just because I'm just trying to...
It's the last one.
Well, this is linked to the girl that took me to the J Club. And I immediately thought, because usually when I think of like, when we're doing...
J Club.
When we're doing these like stories, I think, what can I link to this particular story this time? And I thought of this. I was like, this is the only chance I get to tell this story.
I've never heard this story. I love hearing a Mark story.
So there was like a few of us in like our road, and used to like play out a lot. And Joanne, absolutely lovely, maybe a few years older than me. This was after the J Club. And she came round and we were sort of in my garden and I had a tree house. We were playing something. She was down picking like fruit off the ground or whatever. I went up into the tree house, but then I didn't realise my dad had been doing some like fencing work and stuff and had left these like fence posts leant against the tree. And when I went up into the tree, I'd knocked this fence post, and I still remember to this day looking, she's bent down and this fence post are like coming crashing down on top of her.
That's the last you saw her.
And like smacked her like proper like onto this fence post. And I just remember looking and being like, and it was like too late. It was too late to say anything because she was fine and everything. I never saw her after that. Like she went home and she was fine, but like we never hung out after that. So
understandable.
That's what came to my mind.
You're the kid that like family knocked her out with a fence post.
A lot of people you knew when you were a kid that you don't know anymore.
Yeah, I know. Oh my god. Well, this is what
I think. Say this, but then I'll say it, but I can't remember if we've talked about it in like offline or on the podcast. Someone in my village, I got invited to their house, like, and it was a golf club. They owned the golf club down the road. There was a few of us went, not just me, but like a few of the kids. We all went. And then I came home and apparently, and my mum was like, nothing happened, but you were just really creeped out by this dad. He just kept coming in the room and you were like, you never wanted to go back there. And I've no memory of this at all. And to the point, and my mum, I was like, and she was telling me recently, and I was like, really? She was like, yeah. She was like, you were like really insistent. You were like, she was like, and then you got invited back, and she was like, we had to make up some excuse for you, so you never went. And I was like, I have no memory of this. Like, she was like, do you not even remember what happened? I was like, I have no memory of this entire thing at all. Which you'd think, like something like that, for me to be so insistent.
Creepy dad.
I don't know. I have no memory. I have no memory of this entire thing. So maybe, Mark, you and Joanne would have been best mates, and she has no memory because you knocked her out of this most experience. And actually, if you brought it up, she'd be like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Maybe. Okay, that's another person to track down.
Hey, do you remember when I went up a tree and knocked her out of a fence?
Once I've tracked all these people down, it would be like youth club reunion, wouldn't it? Well, anyway, well, let's get back to the story. So at the youth club, we have the coach. Should we call him the coach or the sergeant?
Sergeant, yeah, the sergeant.
So he's...
T.A. Twit, I believe Ace refers to him.
I think he's a bit silly.
I think you've got to remember that this is essentially kids' TV from the 80s, which it's a lot like all the kids' TV I watched in the 80s and 90s. And, you know, it's right there what he symbolises. He's a repressed alpha male who knows about fighting and does not talk about his feelings.
It feels very Grange Hill.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
I suppose, I don't know, maybe I'm just comparing it to, like, the characters in, like, Curse of Fenric and Ghostlight and stuff. It doesn't really sit alongside those, that's all.
Time period.
Yeah, I know, but just in terms of like the acting style.
I don't think his acting's bad. I think he is like what he is, which is that sort of character at that time.
And he recognises Ace, and then does it imply that he knows that she burnt down that house?
Yeah.
Okay, I've never noticed
the police let you off with a warning.
Yeah, I've never noticed that before.
There's a brilliant bit of direction there as well, which I'd never noticed before, where the doctor and Ace and the sergeant are having a chat, and then the Ace and the sergeant carry on talking, but we follow the doctor out of the room as he sort of sniffs about, and then we just get the doctor's reactions, but we're still hearing like the backstory. It's a real like, oh, they would do that in modern television, not in multicam Doctor Who of the 80s.
I think this whole series, this particular series, even if not always the stories have been like killer, I think there's been real moments of future-ness.
You're seeing bits of the 90s creep in, aren't you? Like a year or so before.
Yeah. Or even like more than that. The things that are going on with, and I said this last week, the things that this with Ace, this whole storyline that we've had all season of her backstory being the main storyline, it's basically what we've just had in New Home.
Yeah.
You know, this whole like a companion's whole backstory being a storyline going on in the series. It's been really sort of interesting to see those seeds being sown and then it stops.
Like like Delta and the Bannerman is a completely different show since then. You just wouldn't.
Yeah.
You can't imagine Ace being in Delta and the Bannerman at all.
Well, I can, but you're right. It is a different show, but I can imagine it. But it would be a different. It feels that sort of like crossover of time.
Or like Mel being in this. Like,
I can't imagine Mel being in this.
What? And they went back to Pease Pottage and saw all the computer programmer mates. They were all just doing an exercise keep fit class together.
yeah, that would be happening down at the club. Yeah,
and she's like, "But where's the spa?"
Yeah, she'd want to go on holiday, wouldn't she? She wouldn't want to go home. We have all this stuff with the doctor in the shop and the cat food and the cat tins and everything. Gets on my nerves a little bit, just because it's not explained. I like things to be a bit clearer, and it's just...
He was just trying to find some decent cat food, and it was a good chance to have a cameo by two massive comedians at the time, Hale and Pace.
Hale and Pace. I don't know anything about Hale and Pace.
They are very much part of my childhood. They were on television all the time. Like, it just felt like they were everywhere for 3 or 4 years. Like Russ Abbott. Do you remember Russ Abbott?
I remember Russ Abbott.
Yeah, similar era.
Little and Large.
Little and Large. It was the same era. It was the same era that where Jim Davison was all over television and was the acceptable face of the BBC. So I can't say they got it right, but they were everywhere.
So there are like celebrity cameos.
Yeah.
I don't remember these guys. I mean, I'm 1990s, so like I remember Jim Davidson. Like I remember that being a thing, but
they had a big hit single called "Do the Stonk" for Red Nose. I don't know why I remember that, but we were doing the stonk in my school. It was all over the place. Got to do the stonk.
In terms of their characters, though, they sort of add in, there's lots of layers of survival of the fittest and all the cat metaphors and all that kind of stuff.
I get it, though. That's just a moment to add in for kids and for fans to just have like, it's just a moment for add in these cameos, which we've had so many of in the last few seasons. They love a moment to add in a cameo.
But I don't understand how that cat got behind that shelf.
Well, now there's a doctor. That's why he's so curious.
Yeah. It's a space cat. It might have materialised.
Ah, yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
In the perfect space at the back of the shelf. Just go with it.
Sometimes, Mark, we've had this conversation. If you overthink it, it's going to roll.
I also noted that I don't think they should be telling people that cats can eat cheese, because I think that's bad for them.
Can they not eat cheese?
I thought they can't have any dairy. It's bad for them.
The 80s.
Isn't what is it? The cat treats? What are they called?
Dreamies.
Dreamies have bits that have cheese in them.
I don't think it's real cheese.
And definitely for dogs, because dogs aren't supposed to have cheese. But if you put a tablet in the cheese, you can give it to your dog. Like that's how you can give your dogs tablets.
News just in.
Similar to cats.
Cheese isn't toxic to cats, but eating too much cheese can give them an upset stomach or lead to diarrhea and vomiting. So
there we go.
They can have it as a treat.
There we are. Okay.
There we are, Mark.
We all know now. It's fine.
One baby bell only.
I also noted this is the first appearance of a ski yogurt in Doctor Who in the background. Still
in the new series, they're everywhere.
Product
well, it's still recognisable today. Okay, I'll get through the plot a bit more. Okay, so we meet
move it on.
We meet Ace's friend, Ange, who explains a bit of what's been going on. That's all right, I like that.
She's great. Lots of little texture, what she married Darth Vader, the brain-dead plumber, things like that. Real-life sounding things. Again, it's Grange Hill, it's Biker Grove. Doctor Who doesn't have characters like this in.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. And you feel like if it was still around, like if it had carried on, this is the sort of thing it might have done more of. This
is where we find out that people have been zapped into Catland because that running man gets zapped. We've had a few people being zapped.
Zapped right at the start, Mark.
Well, I know. Well, that's a mystery zap. This might be our second mystery zap. Again, this is probably the first time I've understood what's going on because I was writing notes. I never understood what the correlation was between the cheetah person on the horse and the zapping. And have I got this right? You've got the black cats, you've got the cheetah people, and you've got our human people, right? So the black cats are like the Kitling things that have the power to zap between different dimensions or whatever, or planets or whatever, to hunt food for the cheetah people. And then the people get zapped to the planet, But then if you stay there too long, you sort of get infected, and if you turn into effectively the cheetah people.
Because the cheetah people were the people that thought they could control the kitlings that are native to the planet. But they all turned into giant, unconvincing cats.
Okay, I've never understood that. Today, I do.
Hooray!
Sarah, were you following it?
I mean, I sort of was. I understood it more as like, you got there, and then if you stayed there long enough, you become a cheetah person, and you'd have to try and get back. And the only way to get back was if you were in that sort of middle ground, and that middle ground must have been something to do with being like a cat, which is why you had the eyes like a cat.
And okay, Catland, as we're calling it now. This is I like it. It looks really impressive. I mean, we're sort of in a quarry sandpit place. It's our fourth pink sky though of Doctor Who.
But it's the best one.
I like when we first saw it in like Mind Warp.
Mark, our fourth pink sky. I literally. What were the other three?
So we had Mind Warp, and then we had Time in Rani, and then Greatest Show in the Galaxy.
It's one of the Rani's. It was ages ago.
Yeah, I'm saying it's our fourth pink sky since they obviously had this effect. I'm just saying. Why couldn't they have just changed the colour on paint? Just like change one colour over. That's the only thing. But no, it's effective and it makes it look more alien. And there's these little volcanoes and stuff that adds to it. And there's a couple of shots where they've sort of, I don't know how they do it, put in like them walking along, like, but they're like tiny. That's really cool. I just think maybe it could be a different colour.
Sure, maybe for the special edition.
Yeah,
we could change it to whatever colour you want, Mark.
Well,
you can have a little colour selector. You can choose your own colour.
Yes, that's a good idea. I don't know, maybe red because it's supposed to be a bit more volcanic or something. Fine, no one else cares about the sky.
No one cares that this is the fourth pink, as you pointed out, but I'm sure someone does. They'll tell us.
Well, just going back a bit, Ace is in that playground, and that's when we first see the cheetah person on the horse, which looks really cool. And in that sort of...
I was going to say, it was a cool scene, that.
Yeah, and it's a very Doctor Who thing, isn't it? Like, you're in a kid's playground, like, sort of every day, and then you've got this weird, like, horse creature
You're in
thing.
the everyday, and the normal thing is happening.
So the cheetah people, the costumes do get a lot of criticism.
Well, they do look like they've just come off Cats. Like, literally, it looks like they've been on the stage show and they've borrowed some of the actors for the day.
But I don't know how else they would have done it.
Because it's the same time period as well, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't think they're hugely terrible. Like, okay, their costumes. I think they work really well in wide shot, like, and when they're on the horse and when they're moving around. It's when you focus a bit too much on them, when Ace is having a chat to a girlfriend and the master's stroking one behind the ear, you're a bit like, you're just stroking some RADA student in a funny mask.
Yeah.
I think you can see the sort of the headpiece. You can see like the line, I think. It doesn't look like it's sort of all in one. I think that's what it is. But yeah, I don't think they deserve like the criticism that they get.
I don't know how you could make it better at that time.
Yeah. What else can you do?
That's the thing.
There are cat people later in New Doctor Who, and they do look better, but not much better.
But also technology and things would be better by then. We're talking late 80s.
Yeah, you couldn't have done anything else. So, I mean, there's real horses at least. They didn't go that far and have like...
Everyone looks so hot though. Like, everyone looks like, why am I in this costume? I'm really committing to the moment, but everyone looks hot.
That was a big thing. Sylvester McCoy always used to tell a story about how hot it was and how one of the cheetah people had enough and stripped off their costume and walked off into the desert in the nude, which they probably weren't. They were probably just in their pants or something like that. But it's not a good story if they're just wearing something underneath.
But I like that it looks more alien when it's like hot. I mean, if it was just sort of rainy, your usual rainy quarry type thing.
Time in the Rani.
Yeah, Time in the Rani, it would be exactly the same, wouldn't it? But it feels a bit more sort of exotic and a bit like you have gone to a different planet, especially because you're like...
Like the UK when the sun comes out.
Yeah. Yeah. But then the Doctor's not surprised. He runs after Ace and he says something like, oh, we've gone to the planet and everything. And then later on, he knows all about the kitlings and he's explaining it to the sergeant guy. He knows it all already. Just watching these in order, I was just getting a bit fed up with the Doctor knowing everything all the time already.
But I think when you've got 3 episodes to do something in, you kind of have to go, well, we've got to lose the first episode where he finds everything out, so we've got to make him all knowing. And this planet's on the verge of death, so it must have been around for ages. So he probably went there for holiday years ago before everybody turned into cats.
yeah. But I mean, yeah, it does work as a 3, I think. I don't think it could have been a 4 unless you have all of that extra explanation and finding out.
Some bits though, Mark, because he sees the master and he's a bit surprised the master's there, and he says something like, well, you've got to help me. And I just put it down again this comes back to my idea that it's the stuff that we don't see that goes on in between. So maybe there's been a conversation between it's 3 episodes, Doctor and Master, where the Master's filled the Doctor in. This is what's going on here. I need to get out of here.
Yeah, because I suppose you could have had like seeing the Master get in, because he's already in that situation where we meet him. You don't have any sort of explanation. And then the Doctor and the Master, when they do meet, they sort of stand there sort of quite quiet for a while in front of each other. I was waiting for that sort of moment, but there wasn't really anything. They just sort of
I was trying to remember, when did this Doctor meet the Master last?
This Doctor's hasn't at all.
That's what I was trying to work out. Maybe that's why. Maybe he was just trying to work out his face.
Because they're taking it a bit more seriously, there's no big reveal. Like in any other episode, he would have ripped a cheetah person's head off and been the Master underneath.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Not here.
There's not like that Master laugh or anything that you would normally get, at the end of the episode.
The closest you get to some form of like odd reveal is when he shows his teeth and he's got like the cheetah teeth in.
Yeah.
That's the closest to anything that's like he's changed in some way, and it's later. It's more like he's changing the other way than, yeah.
So, Dylan, this was your first sort of experience of the Master when you first watched this?
Yeah. I think my mom must have told me or something like, oh, this is somebody that's always in Doctor Who. Because I remember, it's hard to think what are actual memories from the time and what are watching on video later. But I remember feeling like this was pretty big, at least first time watching it on video, if not the first time on TV. But you kind of get that they're old enemies.
And a close watch, he's got like a white collar this time. He's not all in black for the first time. He's got
a big belt.
Finally, a new costume after like however many years.
Well, his cat maybe is going to have a bit of white in it. Maybe that's what it was supposed to. Maybe he'd have been a black and white cat.
Ah.
His toupee's looking a bit thicker as well, isn't it?
I think you could sort of see the light, like in the light, you can definitely see.
He must have been so hot.
Looks, I mean, like he is older, but he looks older here. It's the first time, because, I was so used to the first actor. It took me a while to get used to this one a little bit, but this is we haven't seen him in so long. How long was it? It has been a while since we've seen him.
Been 3 years.
Maybe that's why it felt like, I'm coming back into this sort of performance for me. It felt a bit more of and I'm being dragged back into this, and
yeah, he's put on a few.
Get my hair on, like you said, getting my girdle,
They opened a Greg's down the street from him, and he was having sausage rolls every day, and before you know it, he was like, "Get the girdle on. I've got to be the Master."
Yeah, got to go back into Doctor Who.
But he's got to wear those contact lenses as well. That must have been a pain in the desert place, where what I mean, like putting all of those on. That is not comfortable. Everybody looks uncomfortable in their contact lenses.
But I think it adds to it. The uncomfortable nature of the heat, the contact lenses, everybody looks like they don't want to be there, and they shouldn't look like they want to be there because it's a dying planet full of killer cats.
Well, talking about people who don't want to be there, Ace's mates are there. We meet their
great link.
We meet their gang.
I just had it, Mark. I've got a memory, and I don't know why I think this. Did you put in false contacts once?
No.
Why did I think you did?
No, I couldn't do that. I don't know how. I don't know how, and I couldn't do that.
I bought some from when I was about 10 years old. We went on a school trip. This is relevant to your podcast. To the NEC, to the Clothes Show Live.
Yes.
And me and my mate.
Oh my gosh, our school used to do those trips, yeah.
Me and my mate bought these coloured contact lenses and we're like, we're going to look great. And we spent about an hour poking things in our eyes and couldn't get them in and just like never again. It was just like, they must have cost us 20 quid each, and like these cool probably to look like the Master in this in the back of my head, and just couldn't get them in. And to this day, I can't put anything in my eye.
No, I couldn't do that.
I can do contacts. I do contacts now and then.
I'm surprised they have.
I don't know why. I had in my head then when you were talking about contacts, I had a memory of you putting in some like red contacts or something for something, and then you couldn't get them out and you were panicking. And I don't know who that is anymore.
I had a friend at uni who did that for like Halloween. She put in...
Maybe it was you telling me that story.
Blue contacts. And she got them in and she just couldn't take them out. She was like, I'm stuck with them now. What am I going to do? Took like
maybe it was that, and I've just associated it to you.
Maybe it was that. Yeah, I just remember that was so funny. She's just going around with these blue eyes. Like, I can't see. Where were we? What were we talking about?
Sorry.
Oh, Ace's Mates. That's it. Did any of them particularly stand out?
Can you remind me their names?
Okay, so we've got Shrila, Midge, Derek.
I remember Midge because he was the one that went bad, and I remember thinking of Midges. There was another one, wasn't there? Oh, the one that later was from a cat. Yeah.
Who do you mean?
The one that was a cat, and then when was killed, became a human again.
Oh, are you talking about Kara, the cheater, Ace's friend?
Yeah. We were talking about Ace's friend.
Oh, yeah, I know, but I meant like her friend, not her friend she makes later on, like her old friends.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, technically they are all Ace's friends. Out of all of Ace's friends, that's the one you remember.
The one you didn't mention, yeah. I remember Midge because I remember thinking, what a dick.
Yeah.
They're a gang.
I bet if you looked up like guest stars, like people who are in 4 episodes of Biker Grove or Grey,
all for sure,
these guys had a part at some point.
Yeah.
So why do you think Midge was a dick?
He's just really, he's just like, he's already like annoyed with like when Ace is like, oh, let's do something. He's like, what, get killed?
He is very, very stereotypical teenage boy though. And I remember kids like that being like that one. But these kids are supposed to be 16 to 18, something like that. But
yeah,
I think because of the age range of the series, they're actually more like 12, 13 in the way that they're performed.
Well, but interesting. But you say that. Let's just like go on this. How old is Ace supposed to be?
Oh, does she say she's 16 in Dragonfire?
She goes, I'm 18. So imagine she's been travelling with the Doctor for 2 years, 2 seasons. She's probably just turned 18.
Because we just had the other week where she used her womanly ways. Are we saying like her friends are all a similar age?
Yeah, I think so.
So they're all like 16, 18?
They're all going down the youth club. Ace is old enough to go into a pub, right? But she buys a Coke, doesn't she? She doesn't have a beer. And they're fighting. Like, I can't imagine them doing self-defense like that for like 14-year-olds. I could imagine them doing like judo. So I think, 16 to 18.
I can't remember why we're working out their ages now, just to see like their behaviour. I was like,
I'm just trying to work out like whether, because they feel younger in this.
But is it an adult's idea of what teenagers behave like for a kid's
for
show?
Sure.
But I think Ace, this is the most mature we've seen Ace. I think. I just think she looks older in this.
Well, she is older.
Yeah, but just from last week, maybe it was that dip in the water last week that, did something to her.
But I guess that's the idea, that she's been away a bit and she's come back and she has grown up. Like she's faced some of her own demons and stuff and has grown up a bit.
So Midge turns into this. I mean, he's already. Oh, he's not when she meets him. He's just a dickhead, but then he turns into like a cat dickhead. And he kills a cheetah person.
Turns into a cat, basically.
Yeah.
They're all dickheads of cats.
Part 2, all that stuff at the beginning with the fighting, it would be fine, but you've got Sylvester McCoy going, stand still, don't fight, and all of these people doing all of their fighting and everything.
They're like stage dancing around them. Yeah.
And it would be okay, but he has to do something silly, doesn't he, with his umbrella and do his hat halfway. I just think that is not necessary. I feel like that's a Sylvester McCoy edition. Wouldn't it be fun if I do that? But that just takes out all the drama. And I know I'm sounding like really harsh here, but it was just that moment, just when I saw that, I was like, he couldn't resist just to go, I just thought, I don't know, I just thought that was a bit annoying.
It's his trademark.
Yeah, I know, but not in a dramatic moment where there's like jeopardy and action.
I didn't feel like that was the dramatic moment for jeopardy and action, though.
Well, no, I suppose not.
I mean, admittedly, isn't there a milkman getting murdered or eaten at that point? But
oh yeah, the milkman sets it all off, and then the master has these balls things, cat balls.
Yeah,
Master gets his balls, and then the doctor takes the master's balls.
and tries to
juggle.
And he's like, "It ain't gonna do it, mate."
The master needs the best thing is a fish on a stick, plastic fish on a stick. That is what would control all of those things, not the silver ball things.
Or a laser light.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he has one of those. If he had a laser light, he'd be sorted.
Yeah, on a sonic screwdriver, laser light.
Yeah, he must have something like that hanging around.
That's what he needs, not like this juggling balls. That's not going to... You're not going to tame a cat with that.
He's never seen a cat before in his life.
No, he hasn't. I've written something here. I'm trying to just work out what I've written. It's one word beginning with C. I don't know what it is. Ace throws a rock, though, at the cheetah person, hits him right in the head. I think that's a bit out of order. She's starting to get a bit violent.
They are trying to eat her, though.
Yeah, I know, but I don't think the companion shouldn't be violent. That's the equivalent of shooting a gun.
Leela was doing it.
She says later, I can't be violent. She starts chanting that a lot.
Okay, let's talk about Ace and Kara then.
Excellent.
Well, Dylan, do you want to start us off?
They are lesbians. This is her awakening. Rona Munro, who wrote it, is a lesbian, and she talks about it in interviews. This was supposed to be her sexual awakening after all these horrible experiences with men, that Kara was the one. If you need anything more, she is literally chasing after and in love with a giant pussy. So, someone had to make that joke, right?
I know. I suppose it's there if you want to see it. They see each other from across the pond, don't they?
It's probably the most connection Ace has had with anyone so far in the series. I mean, Mark has tried to force Ace into some pretty dire relationships.
No, there was Ace and Mike. And
Mike was a racist. She fell for a fucking Nazi.
Mark has really tried to force some relationship.
Well, Ace and Mike were up for a couple of a decade, all right? So, Ace and the sergeant guy in Curse of Fenric, that was a connection.
Can't even say his name.
I can't remember his name. She has his scarf. There's that. But then they don't spend enough time together in this. Like Ace and Kara, they just look at each other. She like gives us some more.
That animal attraction.
I suppose so.
When you know, because Ace is going, well, I've had all these things with these men, but there's something not making sense, not just the racism. And then she locks eyes with this woman. She goes, a little gay button goes off and she goes, I'm a lesbian, into furries.
Maybe it's more like that. Maybe she was just into furries.
No kink shaming here, but...
I don't know. I don't really see that.
Back in a sec. Sorry, just need to drink water.
These are the iconic moments in the podcast.
Yeah, these are most of the moments that I cut out.
Yeah, but occasionally they're in there. She's getting a pizza out the oven. The door's gone.
Well, shall I carry on while Sarah's getting her water? She's getting water. Sure. It's like Kara and Ace drinking water in the fountain of of whatever.
Of lesbianism.
Yeah. The Master, meanwhile, this is where the Master doesn't really do much because he's just there eating some meat or cutting up some...
Well, he's trapped, isn't he? And he's slowly turning into a cheetah person.
Yeah, but he doesn't really... I suppose he hasn't really got anyone to talk to, apart from when the Doctor's there. He's just got all the cheetah. He's not like there's another alien-y person, or he hasn't got anyone working for him or anything.
He doesn't say how he was trapped there, though, was he? Like, where's his TARDIS?
I'm sure that's covered in a book or something. Surely.
I wondered that. I kept thinking, like, where's his TARDIS? How did he end up there?
Well, obviously he's got zapped from somewhere. But,
true. Actually, yeah, he might have been in Perivale.
But isn't there something towards the end when they do come back? Just jumping ahead, and then before we get like the big finale bit on the hill and everything, the Doctor says something like, "You want to Ace, like, well, you wanted to come back," or he's trying to work out where the Master is, something like that. So maybe there is supposed to be something there. I don't know. Maybe there could be more to it, but I'm sure it's covered somewhere else. But end of part 2 is Ace turning around and having her contact lenses in, which I don't think is a surprise. They're all waiting for it to be someone. We've already seen this connection with Ace and Kara.
That's an image burned into my mind as a 7-year-old, though, after like 11 weeks or whatever it was of this. To see Ace with the eyes, I was like, shit, what's going to happen?
Really?
Yeah, it's a great image.
The weird thing is, in part 3, when the Master goes back, it's weird to see him in like a contemporary living room. After all of these different planets we've seen him on throughout all of these stories, just to see him in like a normal living room, it just really stands out. It just looks really odd.
Maybe that's why I just find it just a strange Master episode, because like the whole setting of it is just so odd.
Some lovely Scandinavian furniture in the background of that living room. That'll be worth a fortune now, but probably got it for 50p in a jumble sale back then.
I wasn't keen on the wallpaper.
No, it was too much.
I can't remember the wallpaper.
It was like sort of
like
brown leaves sort of thing.
Yeah. They had a wonderful little foldy door, though, didn't they, that went out onto like a little balcony or something.
Yeah,
Ooh.
Yeah, that was nice. Is that Midge's flat?
Midge's flat. They go there, but Midge isn't there, and then we get the whole bad Catman thing with Squeak.
Yeah, what do you think about the kid?
Oh, that was like such an odd scene. It was good acting. I just like, again, such a weird reference out of nowhere. My brother! Oh, it's Midge's sibling, whatever. It was like, Mitch is down the well. I don't know. It's like that sort of thing.
He's made his mom. So another tragic off-screen death. Midge has sent his mom. She goes, she made him go away. And so she's just gone to the planet of the cheetah people. And presumably, if she wasn't eaten, she died there when the planet was destroyed at the end of the episode.
Because I heard that line and I was like, oh, where did she go? Oh, I just imagined her.
It's like, oh, she's gone to Tesco.
Yeah, I imagined him being like, you need to come back later.
With his
Mum,
silly
this
eyes.
isn't for you. You come back later.
Do you know Squeak as a character comes back in Sophie Aldred's penned book At Childhood's End, so the character returns, and the actress went on to star in 710 episodes of Emmerdale.
As who?
As Kelly Glover.
I've never seen an episode of Emmerdale.
Have you seen Hollyoaks? She was in 7 episodes of that as Angela Brown.
Oh, I know. I've watched.
I've watched Hollyoaks. I used to watch Emmerdale. I mean, Emmerdale's been going for like 30 odd years.
I've got her IMDb here, by the way. I don't know this stuff off the top of my head. I'm not just her biggest fan.
You really love.
What year was she in Hollyoaks?
2015.
Oh no, I didn't watch then.
She's been a bit quiet since then, to be honest. Big career before that.
She's done some Doctor Who events though.
Of course she has.
Mark, they all have. They've got to get their, tuppence then.
At some point, her and the baby from Delta and the Bannermen are going to be the only living people from classic Doctor Who. That's conventions in 15 years' time.
Is that yeah, the Delta and the Bannerman baby must be the youngest from classic Doctor Who.
So, yeah.
Yeah, from that point.
Does the baby do signings?
No.
Not the actual baby, but the actor.
You could just get any baby and be like, this one was from Doctor Who.
I'm the baby.
I was at a convention recently and called Android Invasion Day. Someone was dressed up as Delta and they had their baby. No green face paint, but in the green, like, baby grow.
Oh, my
That's cool.
God. Yeah. Oh, actually,
that's funny.
No, we had baby last week in Curse of Fenric. I reckon that baby's the youngest.
Oh, there's a fantastic convention there somewhere, isn't there? Of just people with no memories.
Babies from Doctor Who. Come to our convention. It's the babies from Doctor Who over the years. They'll have all the babies from the new series on as well.
Space Babies.
All the space babies.
That's the name of the convention, Space Babies.
You heard it here first, folks.
So then we... so we do go back to the youth club. So Midge comes like dressed up to the youth club.
He looks cool as fuck, doesn't he?
So that's how we know that he's turned evil, because he's in his shades.
Yeah. So you can't see his eyes. Probably because he was like blinking so much. We had to like save it all for like his big stare, his big reveal.
Yeah, and that's where the sergeant gets killed. We haven't really talked much about the sergeant being on the planet. But
we don't need to talk about the sergeant, Mark. Okay, move on.
Well, he gets killed. He gets killed.
Nothing's been said about the sergeant.
He doesn't get killed because he walks off at the end. Why did I say he gets knocked out?
No, he does get killed.
Is that later? Oh, no, because he goes back. Sorry, yeah.
To the youth club, yeah.
Yeah, so he does.
Mark, I don't know what else you needed to add about the sergeant.
Okay, well nothing. Well, he's been killed.
He doesn't like holding hands with boys.
No.
We have that moment where he goes, "Oh, what's your game?"
Yeah.
He's a repressed homosexual.
It's a shame that the others don't have much to do, like Shrila and Derek. They just sort of...
Yeah, I like Derek. Derek probably would have been my favourite.
But I didn't realise that they didn't really do anything. I mean, again, hasn't stopped them doing all the conventions. There's been many a survival reunion, I think. They're just there to sort of add up the numbers, really.
I feel like it's a little bit like the Famous Five. It's supposed to look a little bit like that. But instead of a dog, there's like a lot of cats around.
We need one more for the Famous Five. Oh, unless we've
got, what's her name? The cat, the lesbian cat.
Oh no, she's not one of Ace's mates. They're separate.
Midge, Derek, Shrila, Ace, Milkman.
Oh, Milkman or yellow jumper guy, isn't he?
Or car wash guy.
No, there's car wash. No, not car. There's car wash Milkman and there's yellow jumper guy, running man.
There's definitely four of them on the road at one point. There's Ace, Midge. There's Ace, Midge, Derek. What's the other friend?
Shrila.
And then Cat Lady. And that's your Famous Five.
Fine.
Because in Famous Five, one of them's a dog.
Okay, so we've got Cara and the horse as well. Because actually in Famous Five, in Famous Five, the horse would be a character. Okay, Famous Six in Catland. That's the story.
Catland.
Now, then we go to sort of the end bit on this hill, like the hill event, I'm going to call it.
Yeah.
It's the motorbike thing with again, a bit cartoony explosion. It's a bit odd, I think.
It was a bit of a left field moment. It felt quite dramatic, but not a big payoff.
Well, you got the Master and his gang, haven't you? And then we just get this motorbike sort of head to head.
But he's saving Ace, isn't it? Because Ace wants to do it, but she'll change forever. So he sacrifices himself for Ace. The explosion would work for me if you saw the Master and the Doctor being like flung off somewhere, but it's very clear that they've just gone cut and then big explosion, which looks cool. But
yeah, it looks cool. It just doesn't it feels like a really big. And then the next shot's just him on the ground being like, oh.
Or if there was loads of bits in it of bike, because it's such a powerful explosion that disintegrates all the matter that is involved in the crash.
And then the Doctor just wakes up on like a couch somewhere, doesn't he? He's like, oh,
conveniently placed bin bags and couch,
and
a rare shot of the Doctor's bum.
I think I missed that. I don't need to go back and see it.
Well, you don't see his actual bum. It's just you go there.
I thought you meant his actual bum.
No, it's his bum that's sticking out of the pile of rubbish.
Oh,
yeah.
That I saw.
Yeah.
I thought you meant it was actual bum.
Yeah, it wasn't like a sexy moment. No one was there. That was no there was no 9-year-olds watching that, and that was their sexual awakening. So that's looking for his bum. Oh, if there was, write in and tell us.
Anyway. Anyway, Midge is injured, and the Master sort of tells... Does he die? He actually just dies.
Who, the Master?
Yeah, he just dies. He's in that explosion mark.
Midge.
Oh, Midge. Yeah, no. The Master tells him to die afterwards, doesn't he? He goes, well, you know what to do.
On the ground like, oh, and he's like, you know what to do. And he's like, oh.
Which is a bit of a horrible ending, even if he was a bit of a dickhead. I think that is... and because you don't really see the repercussions, like Ace doesn't... It's not mentioned or anything, is it? Just sort of...
I think it's 3 episodes and they need to tie it up quite quickly. We haven't got time for a quick death. Well, a slow death, sorry. He's got to, you know what to do.
They've kind of... I feel like if they hadn't said put the Master in it, it would have been a completely different story. But because the focus becomes the Doctor and the Master and they have to go off and have their big finale... Like the sort of the cheetah person versus humans that a cheetah people thing is sort of disposed of very quickly. It becomes a subplot. When I imagine in draft 1, it was probably the main plot.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. It feels like, oh, we've just done that bit now. Right, next, Doctor and the Master on the planet. They've turned up the colour in the sky a bit more now. They've actually done, it's a bit more red, a bit more dramatic.
That's liking.
The Doctor does have his moment with the Master. And then just sort of zaps back, doesn't he?
I'd have liked a little bit more of a getting in the TARDIS scene, I think. But again, they didn't know it was going to get cancelled, and this would be...
Well, you've got the sort of walk off at the end and the little speech.
You get the walk off, but I think I'd have I did like the speech at the end. I wondered if they added that in later.
They did, yeah. Yeah, so they just walked off into the sunset originally, end of the season. We'll be back soon. Then when they found out, they were able to get him in the studio and record that last little bit.
Yeah, I did enjoy this more as I was sort of concentrating a bit more. I just don't think I'd given it the time. Maybe this is even the fourth, fifth time I've actually seen this one. It's just not one that I would go to, but I definitely appreciate it more this time round.
I must have seen it 100 times, possibly more. I was a lonely child.
Did you get the video? You've obviously got the video when it came out.
I had the video when it came out, and that got rinsed. Like it was.
Did you dress up as a cheetah person?
No.
Or did you dress up as like a Ace's friend person? Which gang were you trying to be in?
I was definitely trying to be Midge, I reckon. I would have put my sunglasses on and definitely tried to play the hard
like
man.
In the playground when Mark was trying to be like other things, you'd have been trying to be Midge again.
Yeah, exactly. And I would have had a gang of like hard men behind me. By hard men, I mean 7-year-olds. But
yeah.
And the video came with a postcard of the artwork.
It did,
was in that set. Yeah, I didn't get them all because obviously I didn't get Survival, but I got the others. Yeah.
How could you not get that one?
I don't know. It's weird how sometimes the video, it just depended what you saw in the shop.
What was in your town?
I don't know why. I just didn't get that one.
People don't know what it's like to just be at the will and behest of W.H. Smiths or whatever. To go,
or Woolworths.
Or Woolworths. That's it. It's like whatever they've got. But by the time Survival came out on VHS, I think I was enough of a fan to be getting the magazine and know what was coming out. So I always knew they'd be in, if there was something I really wanted, I had to get it like the week it came out because it'd be in W.H. Smith's then.
It'd be like, what, $12.99 for a video?
Yeah. Spend all my pocket money on it, sit at home, watch it again and again and again.
So Sarah, did you enjoy this one?
Yeah. I like that it was short. I love a good 3-part of me. And I could follow it. And I enjoyed the masturbating. It was just it feels weird that it's finished. I don't really know what I was expecting as a finish. Maybe not this. But then it finished. I don't know. I don't think I've processed that was the last episode of Classic Who that I've watched.
This happened to me in 1989 and I've still not processed it, to be honest. Like, I think all my life trauma stems from that moment.
So it's probably worth just sort of saying sort of how, well, not everything that sort of happened afterwards, but just sort of they were planning another series, and I think it would have been Sylvester McCoy's last one, and Sophie Eldred's as well. I get mixed up because there's all sorts of, so much has been sort of said about all these different what would have happened and stuff. Is it true? I mean, this is where Dylan can help. So would Ace have gone off to Gallifrey? Is that what they were talking about?
So that was the thought in the mind of the script editor, Andrew Cartmel, that Ace was going to be trained up to be a Time Lord. But at the end of this season, Andrew Cartmel goes off to Casualty, so he was never going to come back anyway. So who knows what would have happened. And the BBC decide they want to move production, as they did with a lot of things, and they do now, out of the BBC. So they would still broadcast it, and they fully intended to have a new series in either 1990 or 1991. And then what happens is they get a phone call from a man called Philip Siegel, who you'll hear more of later, I'm sure, who goes, I work for Steven Spielberg's company. I'd be interested in making Doctor Who. And so all of a sudden, there's all these companies that wanted to make Doctor Who in Britain over the next few years, and all the BBC are going, we might be able to get Steven Spielberg. Let's not talk to all the... And it was big companies, Verity Lambert, who started the show, who went on to create Jonathan Creek. She was one of the most powerful people in television. She wanted to do another series, and so it would have continued within the next 18 months to 2 years had it not been for Hollywood calling.
Which is interesting because, I mean, that's literally what's happened this time around, but it has worked out.
TBC.
Yeah.
Well, as in, it's on TV is what I mean.
It is.
And the Disney money is there, so...
So, yeah, it's a shame that we didn't see, like, the Doctor and Ace have their final sort of known story. They weren't sort of written out in a way. It's and I feel bad for the actors.
Really weird watching that to think that is now finished. It's like, I was talking today, I was on the phone to my mum, I was like, I'm recording, like, with Mark, blah, blah, blah. I was like, it's the last one. She went, what do you mean? And I was like, yeah, I'm done now. Like, I've got to watch it, yeah. But like, then I'm done. That's Classic Who. She went, what do you do next? And I was like, I don't know. And she was like, how long's it been? And I was like, About 4.5 years.
Wow, actually, no, this is a perfect time. We're going to send you something, Sarah.
Oh, God.
Actually, I've got two things, and I will.
This. Is this what's coming next? Can I not just enjoy this one moment before?
No. We're in celebration mode.
Okay. Oh, there it is. Okay. Oh, okay. It's coming.
Hello, Sarah. This is a little message from me and from Mark to say a massive thank you for your enormous sacrifice that you've made over the last goodness knows how long in watching all of the Doctor Who's. That's just incredible. So I hope you enjoyed them. I hope you're now a convert for Mark's sake. But if you're not, that's absolutely fine too. But anyway, thank you so much. As you can see, I'm up here at the Edinburgh Festival, having a wonderful time. And I hope you're having a great summer too. And lots of love to you. And thank you again from Mark and from Ace.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Okay, I'm going to send another one now as well.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny.
This is like a Dropbox link though, so I don't know. Can you open that, Sarah?
I'll find out now.
Surprise! Hi there, Sarah. It's Darian Lake from RuPaul's Drag Race Season 6, the greatest season of Drag Race. And then All Stars 8, the worst season of All Stars. So hi! Your very good friend and co-host, Mark, wanted to send you this message because he loves you and I love you. He said that you were such a trooper sitting through all 26 seasons of Doctor Who? See, I haven't watched it either. I will eventually because Jinx is on one of the seasons. I hear that you're not a fan and I trust you. No matter what. So Mark tells me that your smile is contagious. Like literally, you should brush your teeth once in a while. And he says that you're a lover of nature, despite what it's done to your face. So no, he's said a little playful roasting would be fun. So there you are, roasted by me. So anyway, I hope you have the greatest time watching more Drag Race because you got Mark so hooked to it. I was watching TikTok earlier, and some girl was showing her dad, and it was actually my season. And he's like, "Wow, nice boobs. Is she single?" And I was like, wow, why do guys got to be like that? So I'm commenting, my number is 585. I mean, honey, I'm single. Mrs. Kasha Davis is married. She's always rubbing in that she's married, and I'm single, so I'm rubbing it out. And you know what? Slide into my DMs on Instagram or something and tell me where your podcast, where I can listen to it. Because the only podcast I listen to right now is Delta's, and it gives me life, darling. It gives me life. I hope you're listening to her podcast as well. And maybe, I don't know what your podcast is about. Maybe it's sports. I can come on and talk about water sports, like swimming, synchronized swimming. Mm-hmm. So big kisses from the big girl, from Mark, from me. I love you. Bye.
Incredible.
I swear I said it was a Doctor Who podcast. I don't know where that is.
Oh my gosh,
she doesn't know what Doctor Who is. She called it Doctor Who at one point. Medical drama.
So there we go. That's
so funny. Well, thanks, Mark. That last one was completely unexpected.
Well, it sort of fits in a bit, but.
How does it fit in, other than like I made you watch Drag Race a long time ago?
We have the Close Watch Award and stuff.
That's true. That is true.
And she's celebrating you, and your massive achievements. You've done something I've never done.
I watched Doctor Who.
I am a die-hard Doctor Who fan who's seen every episode multiple times, but I've never watched it in order. So you have done something that I think that makes me a bad fan. So you are. You can join the Doctor Who Appreciation Society now and subscribe to the magazine. You're in.
Wow, I'll think about it. But yeah, it's really yeah. I think it's taken probably about 4.5 years. I know, it's almost September now. We've had a little breaks in between, but basically we've gone the whole way through, haven't we? So it's taken 4.5 years.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
How many episodes of Doctor Who and how many episodes of the podcast?
we do Oscars.
We've just done over 200 episodes of the podcast.
So I started my podcast the same month, and I'm not even at 100. So you guys have really smashed the shit out of it, as far as I'm concerned. I look like I am dragging behind.
The secret is do it every bloody week. It's
weird. I feel like I do, but I can't. You've watched 695 episodes of Doctor Who.
I know.
You've watched
for my sins.
You've watched telestat reconstructions.
Yeah.
What a loser.
It's the reconstructions that, like, when I tell people about this, that's what I tell. When I say to people, oh, I've watched them, I go, and I've done the reconstructions, and they go, what's that? And I'm like, that is a true pain that you don't understand, because that's not me skipping shit. That is me having to watch weird Photoshop versions of the show. So
you told Fraser Hines that as well, that it was difficult.
I did. I did. I'm very adamant on that. I fully have committed to that situation. So they were a pretty hardcore part of it. And then once I got past that, actually, it was all right. And then once we got to colour, it got really interesting. But...
And you didn't even know that Sylvester McCoy was the Doctor at the end of this classic run or anything. No. You didn't know who the Doctor would be or anything like that.
I literally have no idea what happens next now either. I know at some point we'll start New Who, but I know we have said there'll be something in between.
We'll do a few.
I don't know what.
Yeah, we'll do some, not all of them. We'll do some of them.
When.
We'll do a few.
So
Dylan knows all about that.
Oh, you'll start the new stuff. I'm like, I know we don't even start that yet. It's just weird that this has ended, and it's weird that was the ending, and I don't think I've quite processed all that yet. So,
well, if you need a little bit more, there's about 400 books in between the new series and the old one. Get through them in no time.
Yeah, so they did go on. They did sort of go into books, didn't they, with the new adventures?
Well, Mark, you used to tell me, once people left, you used to tell me, this is what happened to the character.
Well, yeah, I mean, but the Seventh Doctor and Ace are probably the most complicated, because it stopped. All of this spin-off stuff happened with...
Ace bangs a lot of people.
So the books came out.
Seriously,
the books came out as new adventures, and because it was sort of that slightly older audience.
But was it official stuff, or was it?
It's an officially licensed continuation of the series, but it's mainly for the 20,000 fans who aged between probably 18 and 35 at that point.
So you had the logo on it and everything.
It wasn't a fan made; it was an officially licensed thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the books. So, New Adventures, 50 books, maybe?
Something like that.
Went on for a few years. And Ace ends up being, I can't even, she leaves for a bit, she comes back, she goes off to be a Dalek soldier, destroyer
Killer.
Sort of thing. There's lots of sort of more adult themes in the books. Shall we say? I mean, I've not read that many of those particular ones, but
there's a new companion introduced called Bernice, who shags an ice warrior. It's...
I mean, to be honest, nothing surprises me after learning that Dodo caught an STI. So,
there's a sentient cocaine which makes people's heads explode. There's monsters stalking gay cruising grounds. It really is a new adventure for the Doctor and his friends.
And instead of NSW, it's not safe for TV, and they've put it in a book.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's difficult to really explain exactly what happens to the characters, because they just go off and do so many different things. But we will do some of the 90s spin-offs before we carry on with the new series, but not all of them. But, Sylvester McCoy and Sophie Eldred, I do still feel a bit sorry for them, because they were left sort of with that, not reputation, but I suppose they had that hanging over their head, that they were there when it finished.
In the eyes of the press, by the late 90s, certainly early noughties, it's Doctor Who went rubbish in the 80s, and Sylvester McCoy killed it, essentially.
But probably not by fans. I don't feel like fans feel that, do they?
I think there was a bit of a feeling with some of the older fans at the time, but I feel like it's all been rehabilitated now.
But that, to me, is a classic Doctor Who fan. And I say this all the time. Because Doctor Who fans hate anything that's on right now. And then later, they look back and they go, oh, yeah, that person was great. I see it now. They're like, oh, I'm just rewatching Peter Capaldi stuff. Like, I don't really go on our Twitter very often, but sometimes like that, I'm just rewatching Peter Capaldi stuff. Peter Capaldi was amazing. I didn't realize how good his episodes were. And I'm like, I swear at the time, all I ever saw was like how terrible all the ratings were low. No one liked Peter Capaldi stuff. Like, Doctor Who fans hate whatever is on at the time.
I'd say that's generally true, yeah. I think
it's like new and it's always been doing what it's been doing. And then like they need sort of time and then look back at it and they go, oh yeah, it was great.
So they're always bloody whinging, and none of us are any different. We've all got something to whinge about. I turned into the angry old fan this year when the most recent series, I just didn't like it at all. And generally, I'm very positive about everything. And this year, it's like hit 40, and suddenly I'm like, this isn't as good as it used to be. It's like, listen to yourself, Dylan, you loser. But
it's interesting because we talked about this because I'd see people saying about how silly it was, and that was when we were watching. What were we watching at the time, Mark? It was a really silly one.
Oh, Delta and the Bannermen.
Yeah, we were watching Delta and the Bannermen, and I was like, we're literally like everyone's talking about how silly it was, and I was like, we're literally watching Delta and the Bannermen. Like, it's always been silly. What are you talking about?
There's a generation of Doctor Who fans who treat all classic Doctor Who like it was written by Harold Pinter or Dennis Potter or something. And
like it really that. Wasn't. But that's the thing, like, I think, like, it's because it's been going for so long and always has changed and adapted. Like, that's kind of the point of it. That's what's made it work and survive.
But it's a shame, like, this last series has been so good and it just gives you that glimpse of what the next series would have been like.
I think they would have had that fourth series and it would have been an absolute... If it happened with the same team, an absolute belter. Like, and Sylvester McCoy's last one, but I think it really would have been like new ground for the show.
Yeah,
but we finished on Survival, which is fine.
Finished on Survival.
That's fine as well.
What were you doing next, Mark?
Well, we've got a Oscars next.
Yeah, we do.
And then we've got the 1980s All Stars as well to work out.
God.
But yeah, there we go. End of the classic. All done. Well, I think the youth club might be closing soon.
They usually have quite an early curfew.
It's a podcast club. I go to podcast club.
Baked scones.
No, that's the J Club. We're not going to the J Club. Well, thank you very much, Dylan, for joining us.
It's been an absolute pleasure, and to join you on such a milestone as well.
Yes.
I did wonder whether I've known Mark for quite a while. I was like, I wonder if he's been on my podcast a couple of times. I wonder if he'll ever ask me to do this. And as you were getting towards the end, and I was like, he knows I love Sylvester McCoy. It's like, I wonder if he'll ask me. He goes, oh no. It's like, oh, maybe he'll ask me for a 90s episode. And then I get the message, and it was like, I mean, the greatest day of my life.
I always wonder about these things as well, because Mark does go on other podcasts. I don't, for obvious reasons, in that I know nothing and can contribute nothing. But because I never know who's coming on and stuff like that. So we do get some surprise reactions sometimes when people come on and meet me for the first time, definitely with Mark.
You're exactly like you sound like on the podcast.
I know. I think that surprises people as well sometimes.
Like it's all an act.
I don't know. Sometimes they're like, oh, it's exactly that. And I'm like, yeah. It is. And Mark is exactly like Mark is. And I am just as dismissive of Mark as I am on the podcast.
Oh, do you know what? I have missed a story. Just before we wrap up, sorry, this is like the longest episode ever. I'm so sorry, but we totally forgot to talk about Puss in Boots and dressing the cat up in the hat, a real cat. I can't believe we forgot that. While we're on the subject, I mean, it's ages till we get cats again, so
we
just have to. Sorry, if you bear with us, everybody. One more thing.
Yes.
As you walk into the sunset. This is our finale.
This is it.
This is such a story.
This is such a story. We did Puss in Boots, the pantomime, at our work.
So we did. What was a Christmas show? It was a Christmas show, and we were doing Puss in Boots. Yeah, and I had an idea. I was like, we should do a photo shoot with a cat, right? And Mark has a cat.
So Sarah put out on the socials, can anyone make a hat for a cat? And we had a lovely lady that crafted this Puss in Boots
It's
style
like
hat.
a theatre designer made a hat for me for a cat.
So we brought my cat in and tried to get this hat on it. And Sarah booked a photographer.
You spent weeks trying to get the cat to wear the hat at home.
Sarah booked a photographer to come in, and we took the cat round to the dressing room, tried to get it to stay there, and it was just running around hiding. We got a few photos, but
not church. This cat's going everywhere. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so
I've still got the pictures somewhere.
So again, I have sympathy for making survival. Like, it is very difficult. I should have remembered that.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe we forgot that. I mean, there are some pictures from that. There are some pictures out there. We'll have to share them. But the best bit was, so this went on for like, an hour, 2 hours? Like, it went on for so long. And there was this really important tour going on, like, for a huge contract for the building. And they were like, you're still doing this fucking photo shoot for this cat. So they, like, bunged us into this tiny room. And we had to hide, didn't we? We had to, like, hide in the toilet in a dressing room and hope that no one knocked and looked in there while they were doing this tour. We were just in this tiny little room, like, really quiet. We could hear them walking past. We're like, with the cat, it was just, the whole thing was ridiculous. But we did get, I mean, he wore it once. We got like one picture and we used that, and then we photoshopped the cat into everything.
Yeah. So that is when an animatronic cat should have been used. That is when that's when it should have been done. So whoever's got that survival cat now, I'm sure that's in someone's.
It's funny because I was talking to someone about this the other day, Mark. Sorry, Dylan. They were talking about like another venue in Cardiff, and they were saying about how they don't get to do anything. And I was like, me and Mark got to do anything we wanted. I was thinking we had an idea. It's like, Mark used to run a cinema. If we had an idea, we got to just go off and do it. Good or bad, I'm like, I want to do this, but all right. That's what happens when you have no money.
Yeah.
I'd like to leave you with a somber fact that I've just read on my notes.
Go on.
Squeak, who played the little girl who went, he made him go away. In one of the books, Squeak died in the early 21st century when her immune system gave out, having been weakened by severe pollution. So that is what you get in 90s Doctor Who literature. They killed that poor girl.
In the it's like now she has been affected by the pollution.
Yeah. R.I.P. That was in Cat's Cradle Warhead.
Oh, right. Okay.
This week.
I think I might have that one, actually. Might give that a read then. Now I know that happens in it. I'm definitely going to read that one. Oh dear. Right, we should finish. It's been a long episode.
We should finish.
But thank you again, Dylan, for joining us.
It's been an absolute hoot, and well done for getting there.
Yeah. Oh, and where can people find your podcast?
Oh, it's on the internet somewhere. It's Doctor Who Too Hot for TV and all the podcatcher things. I'm on Twitter at Dylan Does Who. So is the podcast. I'm on other social medias, but I don't talk about Doctor Who. So you can find me there if you want, but you'll just get normal shit. So yeah, look for me on Twitter.
Cool. And we shall be back very soon for the Doskers. We've remembered.
Where can you find us, Matt?
You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at 2watchwho, and you can support us at buymeacoffee.com/2watchwho. And we'll see you all very soon. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
2 Watch Who.